Well, it is officially time to get started. So I'll just go ahead and kick things off officially. Thank you all so much for joining me in the first session workshop, which as you can see, you've joined tips and tricks for international dark sky place applications. A couple of housewarming things. There is an option for closed captioning and subtitles. So you should be able to see that option. Additionally, if you could mute yourselves, that would be delightful during the presentation portion. And have some discussion portions later to give you an opportunity to have some conversations. So I will go ahead and give a brief introduction. My name is my name is Ashley Wilson, and I am IDA's Director of Conservation. I received my Master of Science degree in Sensory Ecology, and I also have a couple different experiences working in the field with dark skies. Most notably, I did an internship with Voyageurs National Park in Minnesota, and I helped them create their dark sky park application from scratch, and they were later certified in December of 2020. I also worked with Sea Turtle Conservancy in Florida. So I had some experience working with beachfront property owners to retrofit their lights to be sea turtle friendly, a little different, but the application is still the same, doing the inventory, being able to pick which fixtures fit the best application for an intended task, and learning how to interpret ordinances. So all of those things are integral to a dark sky place application, which will allow me to help you both personally and professionally in your own applications. So here is a brief outline of what I have prepared for you today. I'll do a little summary of the program, and I have a couple different topics that I think would be good to go over. The first is just how to get started and getting into our program. That's a question I get asked a lot. And then I have three other topics where we can break out into discussion, and then we'll wrap things up. And then as a reminder, if you see a slide with information that will help guide you with your conversations, or if it's something that you'd like to save for later, please feel free to take any screenshots at any time. So first, let's take a holistic view at what the program represents as a whole. And really what it is it embodies IDA's mission, which is to protect the night from light pollution. Our related goals are to advocate for the protection of the night sky, to educate the public and policymakers about night sky conservation, promote environmentally responsible outdoor lighting, and empower the public with the tools and resources to restore natural darkness. Essentially, all of our dark sky places do that and so much more by going above and beyond to help educate, inspire, celebrate, and protect the natural, cultural, and precious resource that is the night sky. So dark sky places are not just sites to go and view and interact with the Milky Way and the universe above us, but they also provide an incredible experience that is brought by balancing the view of the universe with sustainable lighting, or stars up, lights down, as I like to say. I also like to point out that our certification functions more as an award and a recognition of efforts and has no legal or regulatory authority. The certification demonstrates a commitment by each place to improve night skies through policies or lighting management plans and resolutions to upgrade their lighting with sustainable and environmentally friendly lighting, but that by no means comes from IDA itself. Moreover, IDA does not select the places that participate in our program. They are nominated and brought to us. So that's why it's really important for us to have a connection with our global community so we can continue to reach and help serve diverse communities and regions and countries around the world. Within the program itself, we currently offer 5 different types of certifications, and they are based on the circumstance of where they're located and the different resources they can provide. And they can be broken down into 2 main categories. So the first is conservation-based, And these are sites that focus on the value of dark skies itself. You're able to see the Milky Way with the unaided eye. There are very little sources of light domes and obtrusive uses of light as possible. And the efforts are purely made for protecting that resource that currently exists. So those are going to be your parks and your sanctuaries. Parks are kind of the more robust overall certification that we have. They're able to do all of the requirements. They're able to provide outreach. They are able to invest in not only changing their own lights, but then a lighting demonstration project. And they also have that high quality night sky that people search for. Whereas sanctuaries are located in remote and isolated areas, so they don't have the capability to do things like continuous outreach or maybe to have that demonstration project. But the caveat here is they do tend to have more pristine dark skies and have that untouched wilderness feeling without any influence from modern infrastructure. The other category is the built-in environment. So while these certifications don't have dark skies, they still help the dark sky movement. These are your communities and urban night sky places. Communities must have some sort of legal organization that is officially recognized by outside groups. So that could be a town or a municipality or a city or some other legally organized entity. Urban night sky places, on the other hand, are a municipal park or open place that the public can go to at night. And there is a balance between showing what good outdoor lighting can be with the educational aspect that the quality of the night sky is diluted from light pollution from that nearby urban area. The fifth certification we offer is really a hybrid between these two groups, and these are our reserves. And reserves are nestled in the conservation category because they're based on a central core, which represents the area's darkest and pristine skies. And then they have a buffer or periphery zone around it. And that buffer zone is specifically designated to include all sources of light that act as a threat to the core. So really, this is a multiple partnership between management agencies and counties and all the municipalities within it. And it really works towards building up to protecting the landscape scale. So while that is fresh in your mind, I was interested in launching a quick poll, and I'd like to know which place certification you are most interested in learning about. So I'm gonna launch that. It's just one quick question. And then I put general here for you as well, in case you didn't have an affinity for one of the 5 certifications that you offer. And I was going to use this to help set up breakout rooms. I think we have enough people to do that. I'm waiting for 3 more people.
Should I ask Christian, like, hey, or I feel like I'm being a Karen.
You actually, I'll just make one of each. That works. Perfect. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the topics themselves. The first one is how to apply and formally get in our program. And I'll just go through this because it makes the most sense for just me to tell you. And the very first thing that you should do, even before you contact IDA, is to make contact with your local community itself. And so if you are a community, and if you could mute yourself, that would be polite. Thank you. So if you are a community, that would be talking to your mayor or your council or anybody who has legal authority in that jurisdiction. Whereas if you are a protected park, that's going to be your superintendent or your manager or your board. And then just letting them know that you are interested in this dark sky place application, providing several benefits of the outcomes from protecting and celebrating your dark skies, and having that ongoing conversation, getting them on board. I also have some other suggestions here as well. They don't have to happen at the very beginning, but something for you to keep in mind. You also need a letter of support from an IDA nominator. In the past, this has been defined as a member in good standing, but we are currently looking into expand this into someone who is in an IDA chapter or delegate or a certified IDSP itself. And so this nominator should have a connection with the site and should be able to write about the site's efforts to become a dark sky place. And then I also have on here broad community support. And this is something that you're going to need from start, beginning to end. And after, it's really going to be important to get as many partners as you can. So that could be anywhere from a nonprofit to schools, to businesses, to utility company, just letting everybody know that this is a process that will affect them and how it will benefit them. And the more people you have on board, the higher chance of success you'll have at making an application. The other thing that you should do is to review our guidelines that we have on our website and figure out which certification is best for your site. And so that's going to be based on public access, resources, partnerships, and night sky quality. We have this handy little flow chart that goes through just all of that and will help you figure out which certification is most appropriate. I'll also note that we are currently working on filling something in for that red box. So hopefully that will be filled in within the next year or so. So after you have a pretty good foundation of how you want to apply to our program, the next step is to fill out a pre-application form. And so this is a link that is on our website, which I will put in the chat right now. And this form is really important. So you'll put as much information you can about your site into it. If you have any questions about what's expected, it kind of include a summary of any dark sky efforts you've already done at that point. And then what's really nice is this form automatically creates a file for you on our organization structure so we can keep track of our conversations and files, and then your information doesn't get lost in my email inbox. After that point, an IDA staff member will reach out to you with an eligibility check based on the guidelines that you requested. So they'll go over whether or not your site would be a good fit. They'll go over the requirements of the program so you're up to speed. And once we meet a consensus, then we will formally ask you to apply to our program. And that will be done when you submit a one-time application fee of $250 US. This fee gives you access to all of our resources. It gives you access to our advocate Slack network. We'll connect you with a local IDA chapter or delegate for additional support. And then you get assistance from IDA staff as you write your application. It's also really important at this time to make periodic check-ins with IDA staff to let them know what you're working on and making sure that your application stays in good standing. So now we can go into topic 2. And I think the best thing that we should talk about first is really establishing a dedicated coalition. And I put this here because guidelines provide the details on the content that needs to be included in the application, but not necessarily how to do it. And there's a lot of nuance and flexibility and the approach and how to write an application, which can be really daunting, especially if you're starting from scratch and you're new to the dark sky movement. So here's a list of questions for you to think about.
I hope one day you find something that is important.
And I will make some breakout rooms.
In heaven. In heaven, he loves it over there.
All right, so the breakout rooms are open, and go ahead and jump into the room with the designation that you said that you were most interested in. I will put these questions in the chat to all rooms so you can all use them for the basis of your conversation. But to go over them now, it's basically, how do you find internal support? And that's going to be within your management or your community. How do you find external support? Through the nonprofits, your energy utility companies, or lighting professionals? How do you find support within the global advocate network? And how do you determine the point of contact who communicates with IDA? And how do you ensure that they have what they need to write an application? So I will give you about 8 minutes to go over these questions with your group and try to have an open discussion, allow everybody in the group to speak up and provide their thoughts. And then I will give you a notice about when to come back, and we'll go into the next topic. And then I think there are still 5 of you in here. And then did you have questions about joining? Or, I mean, if you feel more comfortable staying in here too, we can have a conversation. I'm gonna start the timer. Well, James, I still see you're in here. Do you have any thoughts?
Standing around in the city and the sky, not seeing the stars. These four sites here. One thing I'd like to point out is this feature here, and other ones like this one right here. This is caused by a cloud passing across the field of view of the sky quality meter field of view, such as shown in this picture here. So, and later we'll talk about how to automatically remove the effect of clouds in our data without having to look through it manually, by taking advantage of the fact that these clouds cause spikes. Okay, I think we go to the next slide. Audience poll.
James, I will answer your question once everybody comes back. All right, so it looks like we're back. So I hope that was a helpful conversation. I just got a question about the guidelines. So right now we are working on updating the 2018 guidelines. We are expecting these to be published at the end of 2022. And so a couple of big things that are going to change, or we're going to incorporate our value-centered approach. And so that will give more flexibility to places to pick lighting that is most appropriate in each situation. So while the idea is you would want to use warmer colors and lower intensity, while also balancing it with shielding and adaptive controls, sometimes you do need a little bit more blue light, some cooler light in certain situations, especially in communities. If you have high traffic density areas, you might need extra light there. But the caveat is you would then lower light intensity. So there's still a balanced lighting design. So there will be that. We're going to incorporate more of our values. So it's not just focused on looking at the stars. There's so much more that our organization and this effort embodies that really should be reflected in the guidelines. A new structure to be recognized for efforts along the way instead of just at the end, and a couple other major things. So it'll be a new refreshing way to look at the program. So that'll be out the end of next year. So let's go ahead and jump into our third topic, which I thought it'd be good to talk about a light pollution control demonstration project. And this is something that I see gets overlooked pretty regularly in draft applications. And a thing to note is it's supposed to be different from the basic requirements to meet your compliance rate. So like if you're a park or a sanctuary or a core, you're supposed to be at least 67% compliant by the time you apply, but the demonstration project is supposed to be separate from that. And then there are different requirements for communities as well. So I thought it'd be good just kind of go over what the different types of projects that we ask for various certifications. Starting with parks, there are a couple different ways to get this done. The most common one is producing at least one night sky friendly lighting project. But the second portion is that is publicly visible and interpretive. There are also options to involve at least 2 external partners in dark sky restoration efforts, where they're the ones that are retrofitting lights to be dark sky friendly. Or you could cooperate with at least 2 nearby municipalities and ask them to adopt lighting policies that then help improve the night sky conditions in the park. So essentially here it's able to interact with visitors and provide lighting that they have access to, and they can see and feel what dark sky friendly lighting is, and hopefully want to be inspired to take those principles back to their own communities. Communities themselves are a little bit different. On the one hand, they already need their publicly owned lighting to be compliant within 5 years. So for this one, they need examples of a number of construction projects appropriate to the community population. But the caveat here is not all communities have a bunch of new construction projects. So this could be supplemented by having existing lights still be retrofitted. So if you have businesses or schools or fire departments or something from a privately owned lighting that volunteers to retrofit their lights to show that they understand and they want to follow the ordinance that community adopts. Reserves are similar in that aspect, but at a bigger scale. So essentially, they asked that each participating municipality complete at least one highly visible demonstration project of at least 10 fixtures for each 5,000 residents. The other option is approximately 10% of fixtures outside of the core must be retrofitted or brought into compliance. With the other two, they're a little bit different. As I mentioned before, sanctuaries don't have the same amount of capabilities to invest in a big project like this, or they might not have relationships with nearby municipalities. So instead, they are encouraged to address any potential or current threats to skies over the sanctuary. And then for the last one, urban night sky places don't have a demonstration project, but instead they are required to be 100% dark sky friendly by the time they apply. So here the question is, instead, how can they use their lighting to demonstrate that public open spaces support reassurance and wayfinding? So how can we get people to feel comfortable at night with the lighting that they provide? So with that, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms again, and I think it'd be nice if you stayed with the same group. And here are a couple of questions to help lead that discussion. Especially for parks, communities, and reserves. Think about how a applicant can determine the appropriate location, scale, and specifications of that project. And what are the creative and informative ways to visibly interpret it? And then for all groups, have you ever experienced dark sky friendly lighting? And if you did, what did you notice and how did it make you feel? And then can you replicate that kind of lighting within or nearby a dark sky place? So I will, whoops, that's not what I wanted. So all the same rooms are open. So if you could go ahead and fill into these. And I will put the questions in the chat again. I think I'll ask Marianne this question later. All right, so it looks like we're back. Right before you all left, I was also asked, will I make these slides available? Yeah, I don't see that's a problem at all. I think we'll have a box folder with all the resources from our workshop, so I can absolutely make this presentation available to anybody who'd like it. Additionally, if you watched our advocate meetings from September, I did a thorough breakdown of the Dark Sky Places program there as well. So I would also recommend looking at that presentation. For the last topic for today, I thought it'd be good to talk about how to make an application stand out. And so they're the main components that you are required to do and put into an application. But Dark Sky Places are really, expected to go above and beyond. And really with with almost 200 certified places around the world now, it would be also good to put in what makes your site unique and how do you have your own innate connection with the night sky and what gets you excited about the dark sky movement and how you're going to continue to be a steward of the nocturnal environment after you receive the certification. So to jump right into this final discussion, here are a couple of questions I thought would be nice to end things on. So one of them being, what elements in a dark sky place nomination particularly stand out to you? And all of our certified nominations are posted on our website. So if you have ever taken a chance to look through them, is there anything that you remember that really stood out, a component of it or how it was structured, or what do you remember and inspired you maybe to be here today? And then, what kind of topics should be included in diverse outreach and educational materials? What are the different ways they can be distributed? And so looking past thinking beyond, like, we'll just do 4-star parties a year, what other components can we put into our outreach? And could that include something like our culture and heritage of that region? Could that talk about the environment and how light pollution is affecting the local wildlife? Can we even talk about how light pollution impacts our own health and safety? There's so many different things to involve and get visitors to pay attention to and find your own way to connect and tell your own story. Additionally, in light of the pandemic, we have found new ways to communicate. I'm able to talk to you all right now across the world. So can we not also put that into our own programming and our places? Can we still provide virtual presentations and still have an interaction with visitors in a way that we haven't done that before? And as I alluded to earlier, how can places be good stewards of the nocturnal environment and help spread the dark sky movement outside of their borders? And can that relate on partnerships and thinking about the broader scale of things? Can a park or a community eventually build up to become a reserve? And finally, what actions make you feel inspired to be part of the dark sky movement, and how can they be integrated into a dark sky place application? So I will go ahead and reopen the breakout rooms and disperse, and we will come back in a couple of minutes. All right. Well, with that, that is the end of the workshop. Interesting that I set it up so I didn't get to hear about all the wonderful conversations that you were in, but I hope you took away something from these conversations. I just wanted to thank you again for attending our first regional session of East and Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. As a reminder, our next regional session will start at 10 a.m. UTC, and I will put a link to our attendee package back into the chat box for you. And then I'm also going to put my email address in here. So if you did want to follow up with anything that you talked about today, if you have any remaining questions, I'm definitely a resource and I'd be happy to help answer anything else. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign things off with everyone. So thank you again, and we'll see you in a couple hours.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ash.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, from the UK.
Oh, here's your faces. Hello.
Hi. I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, thank you. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.